Welcome to the What's Your Truth podcast, the show that not only showcases the best of independent artists, but also explores what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as an artist to be. Today on the show, we have Joesf Glaude. Joesf draws on a wide range of influences to create an instrumental art form of textures, moods, and melodies. As he says, his is an improvised music style based on very structured ideas. A multi-instrumentalist, Joesf studied music at Christopher Newport College in Virginia and was head guitar professor at Oral Roberts University in Oklahoma before heading out to pursue his music career, focusing on small groups, solo acoustic, and harp guitar performance. Aside from his solo guitar recordings and performances, Joesf is part of a two-man guitar and violin project with James Ruggles, as well as the explosive jazz fusion group Guitars Gone Wild. His is some of the most nuanced, delicate, and gorgeous guitar stylings I've ever heard, and it's a true honor to have him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Joesf Glaude.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for being here on a Saturday morning, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what kind of musicians are we? We're up on a Saturday doing an interview. What is this? Shouldn't we all be sleeping off hangovers right now?
That's what I was thinking, but I don't sleep. I really
no?
don't sleep 3 or 4 hours a night, and I've been doing that since I was in college.
Wow.
I just don't sleep.
Oh my God. Well, it's good to be able to operate on that amount of sleep. You get a lot more done that way.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, let's get into it, shall we?
Okay.
Beautiful. So the first question is, how did you decide that you wanted to become a musician?
My mother and I were in Sears and Roebuck. We were in a hot dog stand, and the Beatles came on the radio, the song "She Loves You."
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at my mother and I said, "I want a drum kit." And she goes, "Well, just ask Father Christmas." And I go, "Yes." So that Christmas, I got a harmonica. Still trying to put that one together. But that Easter, my grandfather gave me his old tenor banjo. And shortly after that, I saw an Elvis movie, Clam Bake. And I thought, that's what I want to do, man. I want to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I also grew up in the era of the Partridge Family. And I just have visions of my family going on the road as a rock band.
Yeah, that can work. It worked for the Partridge Family.
That's right. Which is actually based on the band the Cowsills.
Oh, really? It's based on a real band? I didn't know that.
Based on a real band, yeah.
Oh, wow. I just learned something.
Yeah.
See, you're already influencing me via this interview. That's awesome.
Excellent.
That's awesome, man. And what was the first experience you remember having with music?
Whew. Wow. I get like 50 billion things pop into my head.
Mhm.
I think about, my first live experience, my first sitting around with friends, or the major profanities that left my mouth trying to figure out how to play guitar. Yeah. Actually, my first guitar lesson
Yeah.
was a jazz guy named Charlie Johnson.
Hmm.
And I went over to his house on my birthday, and he tuned my guitar. He said, "Watch this." And he tuned my guitar. I said, "Do you see how I did that?" I said, "Yes, sir." Gave my guitar back to me and said, "Good. When you can do that, come back and see me." And he left the room.
Wow. That's interesting. Jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. I was so mad. Went home, threw a temper tantrum, and then I decided I'd show him I'm gonna learn to tune my guitar.
Wow.
And I did.
Well, I guess it worked then, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Oh, funny, man. I tell you, some of those old timers, man, it's a really different viewpoint they have and a different mindset, but boy, are they effective sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. As a teacher, I like clinics more.
Yeah.
Okay? Because whenever I do a guitar clinic, I've got a program that I have already written out, but I'll ask someone, ask what questions do you actually have, and people will ask me questions, and I'll pick out a couple of them. And I'll just respond to that, and that will become the clinic.
Yeah.
On the other hand, when I'm teaching private lessons, half the time I'm babysitting.
Yeah.
People
Well, yeah,
don't.
no, yeah, they don't want to practice. They don't want to do the work. They just want to sound great and look cool.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, hey, I'm not going to lie. At 11 years old, I was that kid. Okay.
Me too.
I was. Fortunately, I grew out of it.
Yeah.
So who are the biggest influences on your work and why?
George Harrison.
Amazing.
Okay. He is one of the most underrated players his composition, his influence from jazz, classical, and Spanish music. Do you notice how often he goes from the minor to the major, which is very common in Spanish classical?
True, 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 true. Yes.
You know, look at the chord structures in most of his stuff. You know, you can't escape his jazz influence. You know, um, I love the sound of his slide guitar. I play slide guitar because of George Harrison.
Amen.
Yep, I play sitar because of George Harrison,
Wow.
and I play ukulele because of George Harrison.
Yeah, that's true. He really, man, it's funny when I look at all and every guy in that band was amazing in their own right and for their own reasons, and
Yeah,
but of all of them, he really was the most diverse and like great at everything he did too, man. I
yeah,
mean, and he just delved into any facet of music, any genre he got into. I mean, man, he just immersed himself and boy, it really showed. And yeah, I guess I never really looked at it that way, but you're totally right. He was of the Beatles, he probably was my favorite too, and that's probably why.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
After that, it would be um, uh, probably Kenny Burrell,
Hmm.
jazz guitar player. Duke Ellington said Kenny Burrell was the greatest jazz guitar player that ever lived and ever would live.
Wow.
Who am I to argue with Duke Ellington?
I was gonna say that's a hell of an endorsement. Who's gonna argue with that?
Yeah, and one of my favorite pieces to listen to, his version of, well, almost anything, but he does a version of My Favorite Things,
Oh yeah.
and oh my god, man, you just need to listen to it. It's awesome. And what's really funny, he did the arrangements with Gil Evans, but he has 2 bass players, one playing an upright bass and one playing an electric bass.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I just stole that for one of the songs we just recorded. A little blues song, I've got an acoustic bass, and I've got a guy playing electric bass.
That's awesome. That's actually that's I'm gonna be very interested to hear what that sounds like, the blend
Yeah.
of those two. Right on, man. And what's the weirdest thing that ever inspired you?
Um, weirdest thing that ever inspired me. You know, most things connect to music in some way. That's always kind of been my life. Um, but really listening to a tabla and sitar performance uh,
Mhm.
was probably, it just it made me want to do something a little outside of the norm.
Makes sense.
You know, I'll admit that when I decided I wanted to be a guitar player at 11, it was because I was just learning about girls.
Right.
Just be honest there.
Hey, no, honesty is the best policy, man. And it's true. Like I said, hey, every kid when they first start, they want to sound cool and look good. And why would that be? Because they want girls. At least for the
Yeah,
little boys, that's what it is.
yeah. And I could also say that um, weird influence on wanting to be a musician. I was really into punk.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, real punk. You know,
You do not look like the type, but that's a trip.
yeah.
But that's okay.
This is the funny thing. People. You know, my father once told me that you can, for the most part, judge a book by its cover,
Hmm.
but read the first chapter because it might surprise you.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah,
Interesting.
most people do try to put their best foot forward or what they think is their best foot.
Sure.
Okay. I worked in a music store and I had a guy come up and he was in the classical section looking for something. And I walked over and said, Can I help you find something? He goes, Well, if I need some Van Halen, how about I come talk to you?
Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah. And I said, Sure. Well, he couldn't find what he was looking for. So he comes up, goes, I'm looking for a classical piece. It's an aria, it's an unusual aria. It's by someone who doesn't usually write operas. And it's like, well, can you just get to the name?
Yeah,
And
right.
and then he tells me what it was. Oh yeah, man, that's actually one of my favorites. Do you have a preference in mezzos? Because I really like Ellie Ameling. I think she's awesome. But I also like Cecilia Bartali's. And the guy said, Oh, someone else is looking for this? Because no, I'm a big fan of opera.
Wow.
You know, because music is just music, man. It comes in 2 categories, good and bad.
That's true. I like that too. Yes, fully.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, because of the era I was raised in, my auntie took me to my first concert when I was 7 years old. This guy named Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
He was
that
a
guy.
guitar Yeah, he was a guitar player.
I so
Um,
have heard.
yeah. And that had a profound impact on me because he was a great performer as well as musician. Okay. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not sure if I remember the concert because I've seen so many videos now
Oh,
that sometimes I'll tell some, oh yeah, I remember he did this, and then I'll see a video goes, oh wait, no, I saw that in a video.
oh,
I was too young to fully appreciate
yeah.
everything that I was seeing. But that same aunt took me to see Andre Segovia play some classical guitar as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so, that was just so it was all these things. But the punk thing was I wanted all that aggression. You know, I thought that, I could get on stage and I could scream and I could pound on my guitar. And it really wasn't until I got into college that I developed a real passion for the guitar itself and the subtlety of guitar.
Right on. And yeah, and I'm glad you said that because there is, so many people think of like you said, getting on stage and pounding your guitar, doing the punk thing, or, guys that go up and just are like, it's 200 miles a minute playing their guitar as fast as they can. But there's actually, you lose, there's a lot of styling and nuance. And like you said, a lot of subtlety that, and a lot of emotional aspects to it, even that a lot of people don't understand. So that's a really great point is that, especially with an instrument like guitar, any stringed instrument, because you can bend it. There's so many things you can do to manipulate the sound just with your hands. And there's so many different nuances and different subtleties that you can bring out. That's a fantastic point to bring up. Thank you.
Yeah. Kenny Burrell was asked about being a guitar master, and he laughed. He goes, "Master? If I could master this thing, I'd take up saxophone."
Yeah, right. That's the whole game is continuously trying to get better, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at some of these young kids, I used to do the slap and tap,
Okay.
a little percussion here, a little percussion and melody here on 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 the guitar. But people have now taken that to the next level.
Yeah.
I started doing the slap and tap because I saw Eddie doing the tapping. And that's something we learned in classical guitar also.
Oh,
That
interesting.
goes back to the 1800s. Um, I forgot who it was I saw, but I saw someone tapping on his guitar, just playing drums, and then start playing. I thought, you know what? I could do both. And then I noticed that a lot of people were doing that. Well, now you got people doing all kind, so there's always going to be a growth and development
Yeah,
in how we approach guitar.
totally. Which is awesome, actually. I mean, I like that.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
go to Spain, watch these flamenco players, man. They will just tear
Oh,
it
hit
up.
your mind. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually watched this one guy. He was beating on the guitar, grabbed this fifth and sixth strings, flipped it around, started strumming on it, and it sounded like a drum.
What?
It was
Wow.
it was incredible.
That's mind blowing.
I never would have thought of doing that.
No. Well, and that's the thing too, is just like being open to learn other stuff too, because that's the other thing I personally observe a lot is people going out there and like, I know enough. I know what I need to know, or, you know, just being humble enough to know that there's still other stuff out there that you haven't thought of yet or that you haven't learned yet. And it's a good thing to remember.
And I do think in terms as a composition, one of my biggest selling songs is called "Sugar in the Raw."
Okay.
Okay, it starts off kind of jazzy, got nice, pretty jazz chords. Then I throw in the sitar. Then I've got a bridge with some percussion, a lot of hand percussion. And my friend Eastman and I were swapping back and forth, dropping in percussion.
Yeah.
I pulled out the violin bow that I learned from Jimmy Page.
Mhm.
Maria,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. That's so awesome, man. I tell you what, I haven't delved nearly enough into your music, but I have delved a bit. And my God, your styling and your arrangements are so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, really, it's really mind blowing. I'm a rock guy by trade, so to speak, but I've dabbled in jazz. I would never call myself a jazz player because jazz players are incredible. But I've got into a lot of my fingers into a lot of pies in terms of genre, but and I really love classical style guitar. And you're just brilliant. And I really appreciate what you do, man. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So, do you have any pre-show or pre-studio rituals?
I wash my hands.
Ah, now tell me about that. Why is that just like a cleanliness thing, or is there some other aspect to that?
um, I'm not sure where it started. Um, it used to be sometimes before a show, I'll have a cigarette.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if that's to put me in the mindset that, hey, I'm cool. But with washing my hands, I'd go in there and just the warm water on my hands would relax me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Soap up my hands, get them nice and clean, warm up. And because you don't have the time to do the warm ups. And actually, I think is when I was playing with my original Guitars Gone Wild
Hmm.
band, which is a flamenco player, classical player, jazz player, and an acoustic player. Um, and I think it was the flamenco player, Lon Dieta, who washed his hands. And he said he started doing it to save his string life.
Right. Well, that was kind of what I was wondering if it had something to do with that, but I can see your viewpoint though of like literally warming your hands up.
Yeah.
Huh. I like that. I might have to try that now.
Yeah.
That sounds kind that just thinking about that sounds kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
So what risks, if any, have you personally taken for the sake of your music?
Um, Quit my job teaching music at a college just to go on the road. And I'm about to do that again. I'm talking to some guys in Nashville right now. There's a new record label
Mhm.
coming up, and the truth is, we don't need labels anymore.
Correct.
Okay, labels are a thing of the past. I've got my distribution through DistroKid. My music's available on Bandcamp. So that's not an issue. The only issue is how do you get your name out there? And if you're not performing, you are not getting paid.
Right.
You know, um, I tell people all the time, I make $30, $40 a month in streaming audio. Okay. That's millions of people listening, but I need tens of millions of people listening, but they don't know who I am.
Right.
So, one of my favorite bands right now, are you familiar with Dirty Honey?
No,
Oh man, you need to listen to them.
I'm writing
Great.
that down.
Okay. Rock band. They are unsigned, like Joe Bonamassa, unsigned. Okay. Um, the Dirty Honey, the story that I got was Slash wandered into a bar, saw them playing, said, I want them to open for me.
What?
So he invited them to open for Slash's Snake Pit. The people there said, whoa, well, Slash must like them. They must be good. We like what we heard. So they started downloading their music.
Oh yeah.
And word of mouth gets around. The band got the Slash approval.
Yeah, right. Which
Okay.
is a pretty damn good approval.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a great guitar player.
Yeah.
Again, overlooked because people think of him as just a rock player, but
Right.
he's
Oh,
more than that.
so much more. He's the reason I started playing Slash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god, I love Slash.
He's a great arranger. He taught at GIT for a while,
GIT. Well, now what's GIT? I'm sorry.
Guitar Institute of Technology.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And he like many people who did not graduate from Berkeley went to Berkeley. People go to Berkeley, they stay there for a couple of years, and then somebody hires them to play.
No, I know. And I've heard that too. The amount of people that have gone to Berkeley but never actually graduated. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, because they got a real job playing music.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So,
Well, and wasn't John Mayer one of those too? Wasn't he a Berkeley guy that like
yeah,
and then
John Mayer.
also well, two of the guys from Aerosmith went to Berkeley. I don't know if they finished or not, but I know two of the guys in Aerosmith went to Berkeley. Like that's like been going on for a long time.
Yeah. Nobody graduates from Berkeley. They just go there.
They go there and it's basically like entering this really great employment pool.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So what's the craziest risk you've ever seen another artist take for their craft?
um, I actually watched a guy um, sell his house, sell one of his cars, and sold all of his equipment. He just kept an amp and a guitar. And he moved out to Mississippi to start learning the blues.
Wow.
And the guy can play the hell out of the blues now.
I bet because he pretty much lived it then. Like that was all he lived.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And he was like in his mid 30s.
Oh, really?
His wife had left him. Not because of that. His wife had left him before.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get it.
He was actually he worked as a truck driver and he ran a business. And his wife just, I've had enough of this. Look, woman, you got a nice house, you got money coming in, your husband's there,
Yeah.
3 weeks out of the month. That's not enough. So she left him, and he goes, "Well, I'll just sell everything and do this."
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
like he deserved it.
yeah, and I'll have to say that he's still doing it,
That's
you
so
know?
cool. And
Yeah,
how long ago did that happen? When did this happen?
that
Like, years
was 14, 15 years ago,
Wow.
okay?
Good
And
for
he
him.
said, "You know, the same thing that hit us, hit him, COVID,
Mhm.
with all the shuts down, but he's slowly moving back again." But he's been performing regularly in Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, just this whole blues circuit over there.
Mhm.
And he's making enough money that he's living good.
Wow, good for him. What is his name? I actually wanna know who this is. I wanna look him up.
Yeah. Actually, he doesn't have anything out. All he does is perform. His name is Bill Taylor.
Really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
he's just enjoying it. It's kind of like mentioning favorite guitar players. Do you know who Tim Renwick is?
No,
Remember the song Year of the Cat?
vaguely.
Okay. He was the electric guitar player on that.
Oh, right on.
But he was the piano player for the band, the Hollies.
Uh-huh, okay.
He also played the bass for them, but that was in between bouts of working with Pink Floyd as the flute and saxophone player.
Oh, wow, those nobodies?
Yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. He toured with a guy named Phil Collins playing drums for Phil Collins for a while also.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard that name too.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I
Jeez,
saw
man.
I saw an interview with him because he lives in England. He is the he to me, I'm just gonna call him what he is. He is the rhythm section at Abbey Road Studios. But someone asked him, how have you avoided fame all these years? And he goes, hard work.
That's interesting, and yeah, and that's what I was kind of like, obviously, I'm being a little silly, but yeah, like, playing with top dogs like that, like, how are you not known? But, I mean, these guys, they're like the unsung heroes of all these big acts, man,
Yeah. And they
and
don't necessarily want people knowing who they are.
no, totally. They don't want all the fame. They're not doing it for that. And in fact, I feel like most musicians aren't really doing it for that. It's they have something they're trying to do and get out there, an impact they're trying to create, and they just want to do that. And they don't really care about all the recognition and the fame.
What's great, the double-edged sword of where we're living right now, you know, Simon Cowell
Hmm.
had made a statement. It's a true statement because nobody wants to be an artist anymore. They just want to be famous.
A
Okay.
lot of them. Yeah.
And listen to what's on the radio. It's all crap. But what you do, and I've listened to what you do, I like it.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
It is some cool stuff. Okay.
Thank you.
I love rock and roll.
Yeah.
Rock and roll area. But even most of the rock and roll today is one dimensional. Yours is not one dimensional. There's depth to it. You can hear the passion in it. I
Yeah.
love that. And
Oh,
people think you need 50 chords. You know, and
no.
I know you don't just do one chord, but man, I've heard stuff one chord, but there's so much passion in it.
Oh yeah, actually, fun thing, and this is going back to my jazz. And thank you so much for that, by the way. This was in no way intended to become about me, but I really do appreciate that a lot, man. Especially coming from someone of your caliber, that's a big deal to me. Thank you. Um, but there was this great drill we did in jazz band back in high school. This is when I was actually, in my mind, when I really became a musician. Because from 11 years old up until then, I was just a kid screwing around on an acoustic guitar, right? But we did this drill where it was an improv drill. So the band was playing over this vamp, and everyone took a solo, but you were only allowed to use one note.
Yeah.
It was the coolest damn thing ever, and it just really made you explore different ways to emote as
two,
an
th-
artist.
two things I make my students do whenever I'm teaching them how to play solos. I tell them, get a harmonica.
That's interesting.
Okay. The first three notes, it's just a chord. Don't worry about this. Start on the fourth note. There's where your scale starts. And you've got a 2-octave scale.
Hmm. Oh, interesting.
Okay. Just start playing with that. And when we start improvising on the guitar, I tell them, these are the 4 notes that you can use. You have to do phrases, things that are lost on me. I enjoy some of Joe Satriani. I enjoy some of Steve Vai.
Yeah.
Okay. But man, I listen to Andy Timmons or I listen to Eric Johnson.
Yeah.
Phrasing. Eddie Van Halen's greatest things. 2 of the greatest things about Eddie Van Halen. He was an amazing rhythm guitar player.
That is true. He was a really great rhythm guitar player. People
And
don't think of that, but he was.
Yeah, and his phrasing, he wasn't just all guitar masturbation, man. There was phrasing to what he did. Each of these leads he played was a mini composition in itself.
Interesting. I
Yeah,
have to relook at Eddie because I got to be honest. He's always one of the guys that, and maybe it's just because everyone puts him on the pedestal as the guy, and he was incredible. I mean, no, Eddie was amazing. I always thought of him as a speed player, but I got to go back and listen to him like newly because I never really looked at it from that perspective. I always looked at him as, like you said, kind of a bit of a guitar stroker, let's call it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but no, it's I could see that. And actually, I'm thinking of one song now that you think that you say that. Finish what you started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That song is like almost got like country happening in it, and just the twang and the way. I mean, there's actually okay. I need to go back and re-listen to Eddie Van Halen. I feel like I might have missed something with him.
The problem is there are so many people who think they know why an artist is famous,
Yeah,
or, and most of them are just blowing sunshine, okay? I think Prince was very talented.
yeah,
People don't really know why he was talented, and his greatest gift was in the studio.
yes, that's true.
Yeah, I've heard him play guitar. He's pretty average. I heard him play piano, pretty average. I've heard him play pretty average. But what he could do in the studio and what he could pull out of other musicians, he could pull things out of other musicians that they didn't know they had.
Yeah,
That was his gift. Okay. And I'm not running him down by saying he was an average musician. He was an average musician on most of these things. Great songwriter,
yeah,
but he was able to pull out of other musicians was his real gift.
yeah,
You know, again, people jump on the Eddie thing because of the two-hand tapping, and that he was fast. He was fast. He was clean, and he was phrasing things.
yeah.
Go back and listen to Steve Vai. Each of his songs could really be 3.5 minutes long. They don't need to be 7 minutes long. Yeah,
Fair point.
he's still better than me. I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
not.
you're not bagging on the guy by any means. No, I get it. Wow. My viewpoint just shifted on the phrasing. That's actually a great point. Thank you for again saying that. I'm gonna go back and listen to Eddie and, like I said, newly, and with that in mind. And
Yeah.
that's a really great point. Cool. So shifting gears a little bit, what's the one thing about you that would shock everyone to know?
Hmm. That I'm just incredibly good looking. No, no,
Oh,
no.
pretty good.
Yeah. It's wow, what would be shocking about me? Um, I direct choir at a church.
Oh, right on.
I'm a choir director.
Cool.
I will go to mass and then I'll zip right on over and direct choir at a Presbyterian church.
That's
So,
awesome.
so,
That's
and I'm kind of a family man. Got my wife and my 3 cats.
awesome.
So, but I think what shocks most people think I'm more social than I am. Okay,
Okay.
I can fake sociability, but my favorite movie is Passengers. Do you remember that movie?
I have never actually seen Passengers.
Great movie, Chris Pratt. I think I would have woken someone up other than Jennifer Lawrence if I was that desperate. But
Yeah.
to me, that would be a dream, man. I wake up and I'm all alone. I've got a
Oh,
book.
wait a minute. No, I did. No, I did see that movie. I know what you're talking about now. The one where they're flying in space and they're all in deep sleep, but then they get woken up or something like that. Or
Yep, yep,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I've got a
right.
bartender. I've got alcohol. I've got restaurants. I've got libraries. I've got movies. Man, I'm gonna figure out how to record my music. I'm gonna find my guitar.
Yeah, right. And
You
you're
know,
just gonna spend the rest of eternity doing that
that's
until
right.
whatever. Interesting. Oh, how funny.
Yeah,
And then
I'm more about solitude than people realize.
well, fine. Again, that's kind of interesting because I think again, this is my observation over the years as artists. That's kind of common, not only with musicians, with artists in general. I feel like because we're always trying to figure out the things we're trying to say, and that can be a very introverting activity. And then putting it out there is, yeah, I just that's something I've noticed with a lot of artists that are just like that. Not because they're mean or they're trying to shun people, but it's just kind of who we are sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the one thing or the one tool that you absolutely cannot live without as an artist, and why?
Hmm. One thing. I could say my nails because I play
Okay.
classical guitar.
Well, that's actually a fair point. Sure, tell me about that.
Yeah. Um, you know, I can do nails better than most women. If
Oh,
I ever break one, I could actually do acrylics and shape them out.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. So when you have your midlife crisis, you can start a nail parlor.
That's right. But yeah, I would say that, if I were trapped on a desert island and I could only have one instrument or one thing, it would probably be my guitar, and pray God that the strings don't break. Second
Yeah,
would
right.
probably be my harmonica.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then what has been the most difficult piece of music for you to create and why?
Whew. You know, to create, I'm gonna have to jump over to 2. There are a couple of songs for very different reasons. Okay, Sugar and the Raw started. I was at a coffee shop, and I got this bass idea in my head, and I started writing down this bass line.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't know where it was supposed to go. And then I was sitting around playing around with some chords, and I thought, you know what, this would match this. So that song kind of took time, uh, and so it's an orchestrated song. It was hard to get everyone together because I like live recording. I can go in and lay down everything, but I found that when you do that, everything sounds one dimensional.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to list that. Um, but it's also the only song that I can listen to of mine on the radio when it comes on the radio, because the closing solo was my friend Jason and I swapping riffs, just kind of jamming. The idea was we were going to jam and then get a time frame and then go back in and just piece out some leads. But we were so loose and so free that it came together. We're like going, damn, let's just leave it. And we did. So that one was difficult again because of the orchestration of it. Um, the other one was just the opposite. I started writing a song. It's called That Girl Doesn't Cry. And it's just an A minor. It's not even A minor, it's an A5 chord with
Oh,
a
interesting.
walking bass line. And that's the entire song. And because it's so simple, part of my brain says you need to add something to it. You need to, and you don't.
Right.
Okay. Anything I do beyond just that backdrop is going to become distracting. And so, yeah, I've got a little guitar line over it. The song is only just about 3 minutes.
Mhm.
And I've got a little harmonica on it. I've got a little sitar on it, and I've got a little guitar on it. But the background is just that one chord with a walking bass line.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And your brain always says, I should put another chord in there. And it's like, no, no, don't.
No, bad brain. No, I know. It's true. No, it's very true. People have a tendency to gravitate toward making things more complicated than they need to be, and that's actually the opposite of what you should do, in my opinion.
And that's also a truism of life. People make their lives more difficult than they have to be.
Yeah.
Thinking we need something that we don't. Um, I always talk about I was a history teacher for a while. That comes
Mhm.
as a shock to people as
Oh,
well.
okay.
Um,
Well, Joseph?
to not worry about what someone else is doing with their life. I'm going to use a weird example. President James Buchanan.
Okay.
Okay, he was gay.
Oh,
Everybody knew. Nobody cared. They had real problems to worry about. They
right.
didn't care about his life.
Yeah.
And they knew. They used to call him Fancy Nancy in the press.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
but nobody cared because they had real problems and real things to focus on. So when you have real problems, you focus on what's important.
Yeah.
You know, I think that we've just become pleasure monkeys. We have so many distractions: TV, uh, people walking about on their cell phones all the time, and
Sure.
I can be guilty of that because I'll get a text and
Right.
I answer immediately. Drives my wife nuts, rightfully so. It should drive her
Yeah.
nuts.
Right, right, right.
We will be together watching a movie, and I'll get a text. Oh, there's
No, it's true. We really have become like stimulus junkies, right?
yeah,
Almost, you know? It's
yeah,
true. And among other things, I mean, yeah, there are many things that can act as a stimulus to a person in
right.
this environment today, unfortunately. So, if you were going to write a book about your career up to this point, what would you title it?
What would I title it? Um, wow. Said music. Don't do it. Run away. No. Yeah. Most things are defined by what I listen to more so than what I play. And I would probably have to say, take time to listen.
I
That'd
like
be the
that.
key number. Take time to listen.
Right on, man. What is it? The Doobie Brothers said, "Whoa, whoa, listen to the music."
Music, yeah. Yeah. But I have so many students and they come in and I ask them, well, what music do you listen to? I don't really listen to music.
Well, what the
And
hell are you doing here?
yeah. And I found out that a lot of people don't. Music is it's background for them. They
Mhm.
listen to it, but they're not really into music. It's peripheral for them. It's like a soundtrack. We had a soundtrack to our lives when we were growing up, man. You know, songs would mean something. I can tell you, when I walked into a room, a restaurant, Subway, and the song "Believe in Me" was on.
Oh yeah,
I remember that because of the cute little blonde that was sitting down, and she and I started talking, and so I always associate that song with her.
yeah.
And I kind of count that as her on my first date because I bought her a sandwich and we talked.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, but there was a soundtrack to our lives. I love when I've got new students who come in, and it's amazing how many of these kids, 12, 13, 14 years of age, coming in. Can you teach me Led Zeppelin? Can you teach me Eric Clapton? You know, a lot of them are still obsessed with the Beatles.
totally. That is true. Yeah, I've talked to a few different guitar teachers, and I hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah,
Well, and I mean, as they should be. I mean, some of the greatest songwriting and guitar playing on the planet. At
yeah.
least in the rock world.
Yeah.
Um, right
And,
on.
and that's pretty much how I know, who really wants to play. What do they want to learn?
Yeah, that is again a very good point. Man, you were just full of insight today. I,
It's the
I'm
coffee.
learning. Oh, good. Oh, coffee is hey, vitamin C, man. I got
Yeah.
mine. So, what are your plans for world domination?
you know, my goals are still simple. I want to spend the rest of my life on stage playing music. That is my whole goal. I'm 30 years after I'm dead. I hope that I wrote a song that still makes someone cry.
Right on.
Yep.
Hell
That's
yeah.
my goal in life. I've told people before, I don't care if I'm remembered, but I do care if someone here is still listening to my music decades after I'm gone.
Awesome.
Yep.
Right on. And I have one last question for you.
Okay.
So, just to kind of revisit the introduction of the show. So, again, this show, it's not only about showcasing independent artists, it's about exploring what inspires them, what drives them, and what they consider their fundamental purpose as an artist to be. So, Joesf, what's your truth?
I think that my purpose is to wake people up to um, that connectedness we have with music. That music is a fundamental part of who we are as a species. Okay. I went to college to be a Catholic priest. That's originally why I went to college.
Wow.
And some of what we studied was the mythology of the world. You know, if you go back and read God's creation story, it says God said. Well, the term is actually more like God sung.
Interesting.
Jewish mythology has God setting the choirs of angels into the four corners of the abyss and has them singing things into creation. Okay, I'm First Nations, Algonquin and Micmac. Both of our creation stories um, are stories where the deity is crying. Um, I keep wanting to say keep a cheech. It's not keep a cheech. Now my brain is gone. But the mother goddess is in the abyss and she gives birth. And one of the sons rips out her side and kills her. And so her good son folds her into the planet and starts weeping over her and creates the world. But
Jeez.
he's singing a song of sadness. That's why, you know, most of your First Nations music is in minor keys.
Hmm.
Same with Judaism. lot of your music is in minor keys because we're in a fallen world seeking redemption.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it's amazing that every creation story, the Bhagavad Gita, the
Mhm.
song of God, that's what it is, and it begins with the gods creating the world through song.
Boy. Well, my mind's blown.
Yeah, so it's a fun, we talk about the rhythm of life, the beat of our heart. There's a reason for that. We're connected to music, and we're forgetting that. We're living on cement. We're not working on the planet. We're not growing our gardens anymore. We're living on damn cement, and we're not listening to music. We're losing connection to the real world. So if I had a message, that's kind of it.
That's incredible. No, and boy, man, you just went deep with that one, man. That's one of the deeper answers to that question I've ever gotten. I usually get some pretty deep answers too. So that's wow. What a paradigm shift, right?
Yeah.
Just on life, even like, man, this is just transcended music to be about life in
Yeah.
general. Like, is wow, man. Thank you so much for that. That was awesome.
Oh, you're welcome,
Really
man.
awesome. And thank you for being here, man. Well, I know we've been trying to connect for a while, so it's actually really great that we were able to put this together and then do this. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say when I get a chance, I probably need to send you a wave file or something, see what you can add to something that I've done.
Anytime, man. Oh my god, it'd be an honor. Are you kidding me? I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before we end off here, I did want to give you like 60 seconds to plug whatever you want to plug. Everything Joesf Glaude, go.
Okay. Everything you need to know about me is on my Facebook, Joesf Glaude Music. Right now, we're about to release a new jazz CD. It's called Cats on Catnip.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I've seen Cats on Catnip, so that title excites me.
Yeah. And you will love the song. Two of the new songs that are getting a lot of attention: Ninja Poodle
Okay.
and Murder Mittens. Okay. Those cat paws, man. What are they? They're little murder mittens. A cute
Yes,
little.
that is seriously a good, really great description. Holy God, you're totally correct. I've had cats murder mitten me in my sleep.
Yeah.
God, that's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for being on. This was really a treat. And everyone, until next show, this has been the What's Your Truth podcast. We'll see you next time. Peace, y'all.
Have a good day, man.
Yeah, you follow your own rules and you preach them on to me. But you don't think before you act, and you ain't got no business with me. You don't know. But tell me what's your truth? Oh, what's your truth?